Hello and welcome to the first episode of Mad Creations Workshop. Today I got the Vevor HS001 wood lathe. As you can see, I've already made a couple adjustments to it. Firstly, changed out the aluminum plate that came with this. I've also made these corner brackets and attached it to a piece of wood, and I have that clamped into a table. The reason why, this little thing makes a lot of vibrations. It came with these sets of cheap tools minus this one. I say cheap because these things they're not worth a damn at all. It also came with this 24 volt power supply with a selectable voltage output. Looks like it can do 12, 15, 16, 18, and 19 volts. They are 9.5 amps max each, and then it has 20 and 24 volt settings, which is 8.5 amps. I can tell you from a couple days of using this, and from someone who has zero experience ever using a lathe before, it is very underpowered. You're not going to get a lot done on this, and you're not going to do anything large by any means. One of the first things I did was make this little tool. All I did was look up some lathe tool geometries and came up with this little guy. It works pretty good. What I'm going to be attempting to make today is one of these, which is actually an ear gauge, as in an earring. We're going to be attempting to make this out of Osage orange. I already have a log that I've prepped, or a branch, I'm not sure what you'd want to call this. Cut it down, sanded it down. We're going to attempt to place this in here and see what we can do. Alright, and I got it placed in the lathe. All I had to do was drill a little hole in the end, kind of thread it onto there, drilled a divot on this side for the rest to sit in there. Seems like it spins fairly center. We'll go ahead and power this up and get started. So I'm definitely going to start this on the slowest speed just to see how much it's going to shake. Yeah, decent amount of shake. So I decided to change out the tool rest for a wider one, that way I don't have to constantly try to move it. It's actually a bit of a pain to move because the bolts are underneath the workpiece. You have to remove the workpiece completely in order to unbolt and slide that. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. tighten that up. Screw's not exactly holding it tight anymore either. Let's see what we got going on here. So it appears the screw hole got too big and the follow is not deep enough. So I'm going to flip them. See what that does. That's probably going to vibrate a lot. That is not the greatest centering, but we're going to roll with it. Let's have another try. And you can see how off-center that is. first thing we're gonna have to do, now that we're getting down to size, is we're gonna have to measure the size of this. So it looks like on the widest part, it is 9.79, what's that in inches? Millimeters, so 9.8 millimeters. And then measure that now. On the inner portion, it is 8.01, so 8 millimeters. So my goal is to try to get this whole thing to 10 millimeters. We're currently at 10.3, which is pretty dang close. So what I'm going to start with is going to be lengthening the shaft that is 10 millimeters. So probably bring that out to about here, so that way I have enough there to do both gauges. We're going to go ahead and measure that. Make sure it's all sitting at about 10 millimeters. So on that end, we're at about 10.9. Alright, well, I think I've done it. I'm going to take some final measurements before I remove it. So if you recall, we wanted the wide part at about 10. It's sitting at 10.06. We're going to try them out anyway. I'm going to take these over to the bandsaw. And here's the finished product. Compared to the metal gauges on the right hand side, the left hand side is pretty close. I believe I made the smaller diameter on the inside slightly undersized, but not enough to really notice. I'm happy with them. As for the lathe, It's a lathe that can definitely be used for someone who has zero experience. It'll kind of give you the idea of what using a lathe is like, although it is very underpowered, does vibrate quite a lot, and I would definitely recommend mounting it to something like I did with the piece of wood. Otherwise, it's going to shake all over the place. It does come with a few other accessories that I didn't show, but this video is intended to kind of represent what it may be like for someone who's using that lathe to actually tackle their first project. All right, have a good one.